8 years into the project, and the only aesthetic element I built that could be considered pleasing to the eye was the pilot room staircase leading to the upper deck. I installed insulation and hung plastic, which I painted, and hung muslin cloth in the lower main room, and with the floor painted and drapes around the toilet, moved in. I was anxious to try living rent-free and without shore power, and went to a section of river by Gordon Tech High School off Addison in California. I spent 2 years there before being notified by the Marine Unit the pastor at the school would prefer I leave because some of the parents were voicing concerns. If the boat was painted and looked better, it may have been different, he said. This would not be the first time the boat not being painted caused problems. I went to several other spots that didn't work out, but finally settled into a 3-year stay in the channel on the east side of Goose Island off Kingsbury and Sheffield, where there was a parking lot off the riverbank. I gave the parking company, who didn't actually own the land, $200 a month to keep my boat and car there. When the owner was in negotiations with the now-built Whole Foods, he obnoxiously and arrogantly demanded I leave, and my resistance landed me in the headquarters of the Chicago Marine Unit. I used to drive over the Addison Street Bridge on my way to work, and every day see your boat, and I can't tell you how mad that made me, the bad guy cop of the good guy bad guy duo yelled. Maybe an act, maybe not, but when the photocopier got jammed, he slammed his forearms down hard, breaking it to pieces. We want you out of Chicago. You're going down to the Cal Sag. Cal Sag? Where's that, I thought, but soon found out, because when I went to prepay for the dock I negotiated to rent from a marina up north, the proprietor said the cops had been here and said don't rent to me. He said he liked the business, but couldn't afford trouble with the Marine Division. It was now 5 years since leaving Billy Dickens, and the interior of the main suite was mostly complete. Since buying the boat, I had been married and divorced twice, and because of money and time constraints, the project, which I thought would take 6 years, was now in its 14th year. I was going down to the Cal Sag to stay at the Riverdale Marina off Halsted and 132nd Street, at the same time my new business of inspecting exteriors of high-rise buildings mandated by the city was collapsing. The building department rejected 28 reports my architect partner and I submitted, crippling me financially. I went back to restoring high-rises, only to work for the guileful and conscienceless Eamon Camille from Inverbras Corporation, who contracted me without securing his renovation loan and owed me $85,000, only to hire another contractor when his $2.3 million came in. I was now living way below the poverty line. All personal projects had stopped, and food and shelter were the primary concerns. After 3 years on the Cal Sag, despondent, demoralized, and with less than $100 and rent due in 3 days, I decided to come back up north. I went to a nearby forest preserve and chainsawed 3 months' worth of firewood and snuck back on New Year's Eve. When we radioed to raise the low train bridge near Ashland, the operator answered at home saying, "Nobody's out on New Year's Eve," but he came in and we were off. I went back to my old digs on the east side of Goose Island, but further south on the dead end of Eastman Street, where I enjoyed a long stay of almost 5 years. Since back, business normalized, and I put in a 6-month stretch of work, which included putting up the remaining walls and installing a homemade boiler tied into the firebox, a project I became passionate about. Learning something new, researching boiler designs, cut-off safety switches, pumps, building it, seeing it work well was really satisfying. I'd go to the boat about 3 times a week to work or just hang out, looking forward to the cold weather and feeling a sense of self-congratulations that all the rooms could be heated without shore power. This boat and I have now become old friends, and as anyone knows who lives in something they built, the relationship to the place is deeper. On October 16, 2012, the city of Chicago towed this vessel to their pound, and the following is a letter I wrote and taped to the window October 14th. Dear law enforcement and towboat operators, Friday I came home to see my speedboat missing, presumably stolen. Then shortly afterward, your streets and sanitation vessel was readying to tow my 74-foot motor yacht to the pound, all without being warned with a call or tow sticker. Now you're back Monday morning without allowing any time to make accommodations for resettlement or even refueling. I entreat you to reconsider and call your supervisors and put a stop to this. I have lived here amicably with my neighbors for several years, until only recently hearing of 2 complaints. The retired Sergeant Mazzolo from the Marine Unit told me a high-ranking city official who kayaks through this channel and past my boat said it's an eyesore. The second complaint, I was told, came from the manager of Whole Foods, who called the alderman, who in turn called Streets and Sanitation to tow it. This complaint can be nothing more than frivolous and whimsical, because I'm a city block away, barely visible, and completely hidden half the year by the trees. I bought this hull, and for 21 years have put in over 14,000 hours, 7 years of hard work, and over $200,000 in parts, and as you can see, still working on it. Anyone who finds something to dedicate their life to is lucky, and for me it has been this boat. My understanding of the rules of the waterways are if you're not blocking barge traffic or cross private property to get on your boat, you are legal. But when talking to Sergeant Beltrain from the Marine Unit, he said that would not apply, because if the city wants you out, they will tow you regardless. Additionally, look where I'm docked. On the east side of Goose Island, a near unnavigable section of river, virtually hidden, and right across from waste management. The smell many days intolerable. I picked this spot because I thought no one would care. I accepted these inconveniences and made this my home and want to stay. The height of this boat from the waterline is 5 inches higher than the low-hanging boats on the new Halstead Street Bridge, and towing this boat, unless the river is way down, is dangerous and reckless. Also, when I put this boat in the water for the first time, it sank 6 inches lower than predicted, so the mufflers cannot be winterized. Whenever the temperature drops below 15 degrees, the engine room has to be heated, otherwise this boat will surely sink. The sanitation crew, to prepare this boat for towing, has already cut my anchor line instead of pulling it up from 5 feet of water and left a $500 anchor, probably unretrievable. This disregard does not bode well for the survival of this boat in your pound, and I ask, why even take on the responsibility? The outcome for this boat, if towed, would be negative and a sad ending to another dream, and the old adage, the punishment always exceeds the crime, for people on the seemingly wrong side of the law would truly be true. My stand is, this is my home, and I'm not leaving till May, and if you take this boat, the punishment for those responsible will be meted out by the universal consciousness that acts as a leveler for right and wrong, fair or unfair actions. When Alexander Haig was being baited by a reporter about how he would feel if he lost his appointment, he said it wouldn't destroy me. It's not good to want anything that badly, and I agree. If the boat goes, it goes, but of course, not without heartbreak. As you may have noticed, I chained the boat to the pier piling that can't be cut or sawed. It would be undignified to go down without some resistance. If you tow this boat, I say to those people responsible, your reasons are baseless and actions unwarranted. The owner, Burden of Dreams. On late afternoon Monday, I went to my untowed boat, and the letter was gone, and thought, The power of words. Thank God they reversed their decision, even in a climate of political egos. According to the streets and sanitation crew, that letter bought me one day. It was faxed downtown, and the order came back to tow it. There were several misstatements in the letter. One, I couldn't get a boron chain over the weekend, so I just used a regular tow chain that they easily cut. Secondly, the river has been low lately, and I thought they would fit under the new Halstead Street Bridge, and they did. Thirdly, since I had to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, I wrote the universal consciousness sentence, but I'm not 100% sure it exists. I hope it does. That sentence and the chaining the boat to the pier may have backfired and tipped their decision to tow the boat. I don't know. I also know who the high-ranking city official kayaker who complained leading up to the evacuation is, but I can't say. When I asked the management where they rent kayaks how many people were complaining about the boat, they said no one, but obviously there was one or possibly many. When kayakers pass my boat, they also pass Waste Management, whose noise and occasional smell often quickens their stroke. The boat could be considered an eyesore, and it was a mistake not to paint the outside, and I'm sure it affects people's sensibilities. It's different, odd, out of place. Who's living there? Why do I pay rent and not him, they may ask. And for all the people, landowners, Gordon Tech parents, kayakers, passerbys, and police, I say I'm sorry. It takes nerve to be a squatter, and I guess I had it. But for all these people, there were many more who were energized by the project, and who may have been inspired, because the building of such a large boat by two men is probably rare. Recently I was looking through the rooms, and it may have been because I installed the last of the heating system, and must have been measuring things up, but I thought, I can't believe I built all this. I was feeling the impact of all the tasks and all the years of work, and for a while I sensed an inner joy. I was proud of this boat and grateful for Chester and Edith for such a wonderful project. I always thought if I got kicked out of this channel, that would be it for me and this boat, for there could be no more perfect spot. My hair is graying like Chester's, and it may be time to pass this vessel on. And even though I never really became a boater, but only a boat builder, I have no regrets. Thank you all for watching this video.